Hello and welcome to Hexed Encountered. My name is Joe. Today I'm going to be doing part 2 of my playthrough of D-Day at Saipan by Decision Games. If you didn't watch part 1, I would suggest going back and checking that out so that you're up to speed on what's going on. And because today I'm just going to dive right in, so I'm going to try something a little bit different this time. I'm going to try to zoom in on the map a little bit more. So right now you're getting a bird's eye view of the whole map. And I'm going to be moving the map around, moving the camera around, I'm sorry, not the map, moving the camera around so that we can zoom in on some of the action and you'll be able to see the counters a little bit better, as well as the terrain and all that stuff as well. So without further ado, we're going to get started, and we're going to start up on Red Beach 1, up there on the left side of your screen, and I'm going to zoom in and we'll do the landing for this first phase of turn 2. So this is turn 2. This is at noon on January 15th. It's still the first day of the invasion, so this is the second wave coming in. And we're going to get to that right now. We will get things started right here on Beach Red 1. So we are landing a 1st Battalion, 6th Regiment. So we have the headquarters, companies A, B, and C, and then the actual regimental headquarters for the 6th Marines, and its heavy weapons company. So first thing we have to do is flip a card. So we flip a card here, landing. What I discovered in rereading everything was that I was doing it wrong with the drift. So you look for the symbol. Right, so we know blue is going to fire, and there is a blue, so we will be taking fire. But you look for the symbol here next to the 2nd Marine Division, drift 1 left. We can't drift left actually, so for this one, if we get a drift left, it's just going to be no drift at all. So our symbol's a diamond, our color is blue. We do have a blue that projects into the beach, all 3 hexes. So we need to match the diamond symbol. So company A is going to lose a step. So we will draw, draw a chit here. This chit gives us bazooka, Browning, and machine gun. So we drop that underneath company A. And then we put our headquarters back on top, and we just go up and we land them. And I'm going to have to move these guys to avoid overstacking rules once we get to the next turn. So I'm going to discard this to the landing, to the phase box, and we flip our, and we move on to green 2, red 2, 3, red 2 and 3, and green 1, no units landing. So we have our 8th Marine Regiment, headquarters, and heavy weapons company. And we also have Company A, 1st Battalion, 8th Marines. That's where we're landing on Green 2. So the only unit in Green 2 right now is this engineer. So we flip a card. So this is brown with a dot in it, which means it can hit armor. We don't have any armor. Circle would drift 1 to the left. We do not have a circle. We also don't have a circle for firing, so even though there are brown in here, we take no damage. We just move these guys up, like so. He's here. Move on to green 3. Flip a card. Okay, so we have a diamond and red. So we do have a red here that can project into all 3 beach hexes. Symbol is a circle, so we do have at least 1 circle. Drift 2 left. Drift 2 left if it's a circle, and then the target is a diamond, which we don't have. But because we're drifting 2 left, we're going all the way over to green 1. So this isn't ideal based on what I was trying to do here, but the fact that we didn't take any hits is worthwhile. So we're going to land. Yeah, we were in these 2. So we're going to do that. Okay, now we move over to the blue beaches. In this we have the 23rd Marine Regiment. So we have our HQ and our companies A, B, and C here. We also have the 23rd Regimental Headquarters and its Heavy Weapons Company. Flip our next card. So we've got red circle. So any circles would take a hit. So we do have a circle here. And no circle there, no circle there. Okay. Now the drift, 1L, diamond. So our company A is going to drift to green 3 and land. Does not take any hits. And oh wait, this is 4th Marines, so we don't get any drift. No drift for the 4th Marines because this is 4th Marine Division. You can see by the 4th Marine Division symbol there in the upper right hand corner. Okay, so we're still looking red circle. We know that this guy's a circle. We do have a red unit here, so this guy is going to take a hit. I'm going to draw a step loss counter here. This one is bazooka machine gun demolition. So we put that under company C here. We drive them up to the beach along with B. Then we got our HQ and company A. They're going to land here. And we got our regimental headquarters and the heavy weapons company going to land there. Okay, so now we move on to yellow beaches. Okay, so here on yellow 2, we have 25th Marine Regiment with its HQ and heavy weapons company. We also have companies K and L, the HQ, and company I in the middle hex. So we're going to flip a card. So this card, red circle, no drift, so the red circle doesn't, the red circle only matters for firing, of course. We do have a circle there. I believe that would be our only circle. We do have red, but it doesn't reach this hex, so we're not going to take any damage on this one. We're just going to move these guys up. And so that went much better. I took more damage and more drift in the first turn than I should have because I didn't play it correctly. So lesson learned, and note to self for future viewings here, that when you're doing the landing, you do it the way I just explained it with the card, as far as how to handle drift. You use the symbol, and you use the shape and color for determining who gets hit. Having completed the amphibious phase, we now move on to what would normally be the HQ phase, but that does not happen in game turns 1 through 4. So we go to the first event phase, which didn't happen in turn 1, but does happen in turn 2. So we flip a card, and we get, you read the event up here. And one thing I don't like all that much about these cards is the background makes it a little bit difficult to read this, but it says 2 through 11 airstrike, and then you would read them in order. So airstrike gives the U.S. 1 airstrike point. I'll show that in a second. 4 to 6, duck, the duck gets swamped. 4 to 8, Japanese counter battery. So you would apply all of these. So in turns, say 4, 5, and 6, you would have all 3 of these happen. In turns, 6, 7, and 8, you would have these 2 happen. So you have to apply them in order. So you start at the top and go down. So since we're in turn 2, airstrike. Okay, so here we have our U.S. record track, and this is going to hold our naval gunfire and dauntless airstrike markers. The Japanese reserve pool is here at the bottom, so you can see on game turn 3 they're going to actually get some new units, but that's next turn. So we add 1, and we just bump the dauntless airstrikes up to 2. So at the start of each day, in the AM turn, and you can't see the turn track, but if I pull this down, you can see the turn track now. So, and the O in the AM here, so AM, there's 3 more turns of that. You would get an additional naval gunfire. So I have 1 naval gunfire point and 2 points of dauntless airstrikes. So the way the airstrikes work, and the naval gunfire too for that matter, is they add, you can either barrage with the naval gunfire or artillery, which we haven't gotten any yet, but you can do that, or you can use naval gunfire and the airstrike, with an attack to add points. Yeah, each naval gunfire adds 6 points to your attack, and each airstrike adds 5 points to your attack. So that's just something to keep in mind as we go along. So that was the event phase, and now we move on to the Japanese fire phase. So we'll draw our card for that. So here's our card for the Japanese fire phase. You can see we've got M. The letters don't matter this early in the game. They come into effect later, but we have yellow, purple, and brown, and our target symbol's a circle. We also have artillery at the bottom, and artillery, Japanese do get artillery on turn 2, so there will be artillery fire this turn as well. So they have 6 artillery points, so they can dish out at least 6 damage. And then this card will stay, actually, because this card will apply, these colors will apply here to the regular Japanese fire across the board. If it hits any hex that's on the beach with an intense fire symbol and matches the color. So we're matching red. There's plenty of red targets on this board right now that are on the beach or 1 hex away from the beach. So those are the possible targets. And then what the diamond comes into play here is it determines if there's a diamond unit, it takes the hit and a disruption. So we're going to take, they have 6 total. We're going to take 2 here, 2 hits here, and I'm just going to remove this unit and call it dead. And just remove it. And then this one will take a hit, which will disrupt it, and it's also going to take a step loss as well. So we'll do disrupted. So this is the 1 step now. So the only support it has at this point now is see if I can get it to focus on this. Apparently not. So that just says MG. So it's going to be disrupted, and it's 1 step, and that's 2 of the hits. So it can also hit this hex. So in this case, you can elect to take a hit or take a step loss. So we're going to take a step loss with Company C, only because I don't want to disrupt these guys right now. I'd rather take a loss than disrupt them, because we have a hole here, and I would like to advance these guys inland. This has no red, so it can't be hit. This has no, this does have a red. So that's 3 hits. This would be 4. So I'll take a step loss for our heavy weapons. So that's 4 hits. This could be another. We'll take a step loss with Company I. Oh, and it has the symbol, so it also gets disrupted. So that's 5. Now we need another red. So that's red. This is also red. This is red. This already took a step loss. We'll just flip this to its 2-step side. Get rid of this. And that's our last hit. It turns out I screwed up the artillery fire, the Japanese artillery fire there, because that is supposed to happen in turns 2 and 4 at the end of the U.S. action phase, which obviously was not the case. That's not how I did it. I did it early as part of the Japanese fire phase. So note to self, that's in the campaign game or scenario 1, play the Japanese artillery phase on its own card at the end of the U.S. action phase. So now that I've done that, I'm just going to pick it up and continue with the Japanese fire phase. And the way this works is, if you didn't see it in part 1 of the video series, you draw a card, which I already drew. I'm using the same card that I drew before that I used for the artillery fire. You have three colors here: yellow, purple, and brown. The letters don't take effect until later in the game. I believe M comes into play in turn 3. The rest of them will depend on, they come into play later on in the game. So M and R come in game turn 3. A would come in turn 5. I also comes in turn 5. We don't have an I on here, but we do have M, R, and A. And those are things like machine gun fire, mortar fire, mustering for M. R is resupply, redeploy, reinforce. A is assault and ambush, tank attacks, etc. And I is infiltrate. So we didn't get to that yet. In turns 1 through 4, if you see here, we have this Japanese fire action summary card, and it tells you what happens on the various game turns. So you have 1 to 4 in the upper left corner. Sorry about that. Then you have 5 in the upper right corner, upper left for turn 1 through 4, upper right for 5. Then you have 6 and 5 through 7 at the bottom on the left, and 8 on the bottom at the bottom on the right. So these are, the way that those letters will come into play later on in the game. So for now, actually, if you see here under game turns 1 through 4, you have rules for occupied Japanese positions will fire on their color. They can get an extra armor hit if they have the armor symbol. Starting in turn 3, they can hit leaders and headquarters. And then occupied with no U.S. units in the field of fire. This early in the game, nothing happens. In game turn 3, you'll be able to start getting mortar fire, and then unoccupied positions can do things like muster and bring in reserve units on R symbols. Okay, so the way fire itself is resolved is here on the Japanese fire chart. At the bottom, you have fire level in a U.S. occupied hex, whether it's intense or steady. Machine gun fire doesn't start until turn 3. Then you have fire by revealed position, fire by unrevealed, and then ambush would also come in later when the A symbol is activated, which happens in turn 5. So what it says here, just to be clear, okay, is right here, units of every type and target symbol lose 1 step if fired on by a revealed position, and units of every type and target symbol lose 1 step and are disrupted if fired by an unrevealed position. Okay, so basically we're looking for this is a revealed position, this is revealed, this would be an unrevealed position. So getting fired upon by an unrevealed position, essentially the Americans don't know the Japanese are there, or they don't have an exact location or type of what kind of unit it is, although in most cases it's obviously going to be infantry. So I think that's what accounts for the more impactful effect of the fire from an unrevealed position. So we look at the colors. So we have yellow, purple, brown. So you look at the dots, and the dots will be on the hex side of the position that's firing. So this is an unoccupied position. Therefore, brown does not impact this hex. However, yellow does, because we have yellow dot on this hex side. So this hex is subjected to fire from this unit. Now each unit can impact 1 hex. So they inflict 1 hit, and we would check for circle, because circle would get hit first. And we don't have a circle, so then we can just apply it to whoever we want. Now we have Company A here. Company A already has taken a hit, so I'm just going to pull this chit out, flip it to its 2-step side, and put it back, and then drop the headquarters back on top, because that's what was on top there. So now this hex has been hit by yellow fire. This hex is now done. That position has fired. Blue, not activated by any of the colors here. Also, the other thing that happens is the color will remove disruption. So this unit here is going to lose its disruption this turn. Also, any disrupted purple or brown positions would also lose their disruption. So we know this position's empty, blue's not activated. We move on to this purple one here. So it has two potential targets, actually three potential targets. And so the first thing we do is we look for the symbol. So that has no symbol. This one has a symbol, and it's already taken a loss. So again, we'll flip this to its two-step side. So the purple's fired. Now this yellow guy doesn't fire, but he does lose his disruption marker. Now we move to green. Green is not selected. Blue is empty and not selected. Red, not selected. Here. So you see the gist. I'm sure you get the gist of how this works, and I'm not going to continue on camera. I'll do this off camera, wrap it up so we can keep this thing relatively short. If we're going to end up doing more than one turn in this video, I would like to keep things moving along. So I'm going to skip ahead. So the Japanese fire phase has been completed, and we are ready to move on to the American action phase. I'm going to work north to south. So this is north, this direction. We're going to work north to south along here. We do know that can only be hit with a close combat requirement. So we would have to close combat that one to actually destroy it. From the first part, if you don't remember or are unfamiliar with this series, the way activations work in this game and in general in the series, this is also true. Now this game we have two Marine divisions. We have the 2nd Division and the 4th Division. Each division gets three actions that can be applied to any unit within that division, of course. And then each unit that is adjacent or stacked with its own regimental headquarters or its battalion headquarters gets a free action, essentially. So this kind of encourages you to keep a reasonable facsimile of a front line, in that if you can keep your headquarters units in contact with their combat units, then you can basically activate and move or conduct attacks with basically every unit, as long as you can keep your headquarters undisrupted. You know, from the U.S. standpoint, you want to try and keep your headquarters undisrupted if possible. Now, it's not always going to be possible, but if you can do that, then your chances of actually succeeding and, you know, conducting offensive operations against the Japanese is going to be greatly increased. Now, having said that, what we're going to do here is I am going to assault this. I'm going to assault this hex here. So the way close combat works is you draw cards based on your attacking stance. So the U.S. gets one card for each step up to 4. So we obviously have more than 4 steps. So we're going to draw 4 cards for the U.S. based on that. Then you would draw an additional card if you have a flamethrower, which we do. And then if you have a hero, which we do not. And if the Japanese are in a counter-attack stance, which they are not, that takes effect a little bit later on. Then on the Japanese side, you get 1 for each unit and 1 for the depth marker. So they would get 2. Then an additional card if they are attacking, which they're not. If they have a strength of 4 or more, which they do. And each CC requirement, which they also do. And then another one if they would get, if they're in level 4 terrain, has a tank, or occupies a pillbox. So the Japanese, both sides basically get 4 cards. So I'm going to draw out my four cards for each side. We'll go 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So that's 4. 4 each. We resolve this by doing the Japanese first. So this will be the Japanese stack. So we're going to pull one off the top, flip it over. Now, you can have close combat events, which would be down here. It's blank, so there isn't one. So then what you look for is the color of the position. So the position is blue. We do have blue. You discard the top card from the U.S. pile. We move a step. or the U.S. could elect to discard a second card. So we're going to discard a card, and I'm just going to put it back in the deck because we don't know what it is. Now, since it's blue, I'm going to discard this one. We have to take a step loss, so I will look at what we have here. We'll eliminate our actually, no, I kind of, yeah, we're going to eliminate our LVT here. And so, I already removed the card. So now we would flip an American card. They only have 3 left. Okay, CC US fire on counterattack. We don't have a counterattack here. Yeah, if it's drawn during a non-counterattack close combat, no effect. All right, so this is going to probably end up being not a good result for the US. They again draw blue, so the US again loses a card and loses a step. So we'll draw shit out. And this is the 1-step side now. Okay. So we'll flip our last US card. No event and no color. No event, no color, nothing happens. We draw again for the Japanese. Again, they have a blue. We'll eliminate that unit. This goes in the 2nd division loss box over here. And we have the last card for them. And of course, it also has a blue. So we'll take a step loss here. And that was a disaster of an attack for the US. Just an unmitigated disaster. We didn't do any damage to them, and we took, 4 step losses, I think? 3 or 4. Both sides get disrupted, and that's the end of that. So in order to hopefully free up some space here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually close combat. I'm going to assault this hex with this stack here, which is 5 steps. So they will get 4 plus 1 for the flamethrower, which I forgot to include over here, but too late now. So I did actually screw that up. Surprise, surprise, I screwed it up. Okay, so we'll have 5, and they will have 1, I think. Yeah, they will have 1 because they don't have 4. I think it's actually going to be 4 because of the terrain effect. So the US will get 4 and the Japanese will get 1. 1 for Japan, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 for the US. We turn their card over first. Now their position color is purple. They do have a purple, so US loses a card and takes a step loss. We'll make this guy a 3, I guess. Okay. Now that's their only card, so they're out. Now the US has 3 cards to hopefully take this position. That's nothing. CC conscripts surrender. That's not a conscript. That is an elite unit. Purple. Okay, so we have a purple. When the US pulls a purple on the Japanese unit, the first thing that happens is they get disrupted. So they get disrupted. Now if we can draw a purple on the next one, that would eliminate them. So last card, it does have purple. US fire on counterattack, that's not in effect for us. So once they're disrupted, they would lose a depth marker, which they don't have, and since they don't have a depth marker, they just get eliminated. So they go to the elite unit eliminated box. The disruption marker comes off, of course. That completes the assault. These guys can move into the hex. We have some room to move our units here, because what I want to do is break this up so that I can not end up with overstack situation, because I need to get these guys up and off the beach somehow. And because they'll be doing movement under fire, actually, no, well, that's disrupted. I'm going to have to check to see if they still get movement under fire when the position is disrupted, because this blue pushes into all of this area here. We have blue here, here obviously as well, here, here. So I want to move, well, this one can't move, but I wanted to move these two stacks and break them up. So I was going to take half this way and the other half that way and do the same over here, just take half this way and maybe the other half that way, just to kind of break it up a little bit, get them off the beach and open up some hexes for turn 3's arriving units. And so to do that, I need to break all this up and, you know, make some damage, do some damage here. So before I do that, though, I'm going to come back and do all the movement stuff after I complete my cycle of close combat attacks, because the next one is right here. I've completed the US action phase, and I've decided rather than to show everything that happened, I would just kind of quickly recap it here at the end of turn 2. And then I'll set up turn 3's landings, and I'll go through and show how the Japanese reserves come in and how you place them. And probably I'll skip ahead through some of the turn resolution stuff since I've already shown it, and we'll just go to the end of turn 3 and repeat that for turn 4, and that would complete the first scenario and allow me to wrap this up without this becoming, you know, a 3-hour video. So in general, I showed how close combat works earlier in the US turn. If you did not know or do not know how regular fire actions work, I would say watch part 1, because I cover that in part 1. But just to kind of quickly recap it, you look at the American unit. Okay, its fire attack is 7. You can have obviously multiple units in a stack attacking. You flip the Japanese unit if he's unrevealed, and it'll show you, well, here, let me look at a dead one. So this is a dead unit right here. You can see it says MG next to it. It's a machine gun unit. At the bottom, FT means flamethrower. That means an attacking American unit has to have a flamethrower, or it's going to get shifted by a row on the result chart. And this is the result chart. Okay, so we look at the result chart and you see the odds. So if it was, say, 7-1, or let's just say it was 3-1. 3-1, but we didn't have flamethrower with us, it would get shifted up to 2-1. And then you would look at if it was a Japanese unit by itself, if it had an unrevealed depth marker, if it had a revealed depth marker. And so, you know, 3-1 becomes 2-1. JD, you look down here, JD means Japanese units disrupted all the units in the attack tax. So it's pretty straightforward. That you don't have to pull any card for. That's not driven by the cards. That's totally based on the odds and whether or not you're employing the correct equipment and or tactics, because there are 2 tactics as well. Could be flanking, which would require 2 units from non-adjacent hexes to attack. So like this guy and this guy attacking that guy would be a flanking attack. Or you could also have units that require close combat, which is what happened up here. And if they require close combat, the only way you can defeat that unit is to actually assault it. So, you know, you'd have to assault the hex that contains that unit. So that's what would happen over here. So that's kind of how combat works. So just to kind of recap what happened, we did a close combat up here, which failed miserably. We had a couple other ones along this stretch here that worked. And so as you can see, the line got pushed up off the beach a little bit. These are beach hexes with the arrows in them. You can see we made a little bit of a dent in here. Now, the goal, as we swing and look further to the south, down here we have a whole lot more congestion. I was not able, well, in here I did make some kind of a push, but then down in this area at the bottom of the map, or at the far right of the map, you can see there's a lot of disrupted Japanese here, but they didn't budge. They're disrupted. These 4 units here are disrupted, but they did not get bumped off. This guy here was an elite that I defeated with this stack, but elite units can withdraw, so he actually just moved over 1 hex. to a hex that I actually did defeat right before that. So this actually had somebody, and then I defeated it, and it was eliminated. But this one was an elite unit when I flipped it over, and they get to withdraw. So they withdrew to this position here. I was forced to use both an airstrike and an naval gunfire in that turn in this area to help get those attacks through. And in general, things have been pretty difficult. I'm just resetting the shot here. I'm down to a handful of cards. Just a few cards here, 4, I guess. So I'm going to have to reshuffle the discards and create a new deck for the third turn that's coming up. We have a slew of new American units that will be landing to kind of bolster our forces. I need to try to put some in this area down here, so that we can maybe make some progress up in this direction. So like this area right in here is, not all that well covered so far by Americans. So I'm going to reset. That's the situation as of the end of turn 2, and turn 3 is coming up. We are back and ready for turn number 3. So in this turn, the Japanese got some reinforcements, and the American third wave is getting ready to land. This is 1600 hours on D-Day, June 15th, 1944. So 4 o'clock in the afternoon for those of you who aren't savvy to military time. So we are going to start landing here. I'll work green 1 first, then green 3, then blue 1, and we also have some units at yellow 1 and yellow 3, which are out of the shot at the moment. So starting with green 1, we draw a blue triangle. So, and it's this is the 2nd Marine Division, so that's the top line on the top left, right rather, of the card. So a circle will drift 1 left. We do have a circle, so this tank is going to drift 1 left, and then they will push up and land, and they are subject to fire by blue positions. The only blue position that can fire is this one, and it's unoccupied. So we're not going to take any losses. So we're going to push our units up like so. That completes the landing for green number 1. Flip a card. This card says it's a brown circle. Again, we're not going to take fire because there are no brown units. This one is, so if we get a drift, we do get a drift to the left. So this one is going to take a hit. Now this is the 29th Regiment. It's actually going to be attached to, the 2nd Marine Division, even though it's technically not part of that division. For this invasion, for this operation, it was attached. So circle gets 1 drift to the left, and we'll move this up. Now, I guess it would go. Okay, so we're going to take a step loss here because, that's the rule. And even if they did drift to the left, they would have had to pass through this area probably. So I'm not going to cheat, or even, at least not on purpose anyway. If I screw up accidentally, that's a whole other situation. So we'll just do like this. I'm going to turn these guys so they actually are facing the same way as everybody else. All right. Now that's not ideal because it broke the connection between Company C and its battalion headquarters. So, yeah, I'm going to have to do something about that. I'm going to have to spend an action, one of the 2nd Marine Division's actions, on this guy to get him so that he can actually move up, or take an action at least. But yeah, he's going to try and move up, and he's going to have to do a movement under fire to get here. Or if I attack with this guy here, I might be able to just use them for firing from range. I can do that as well, which is probably what will end up happening. So now we're going to move on to blue number 1, blue beach 1. We flip. We get green diamond. Green diamond. We don't see any greens here. No drift. No drift for 4th Division. These are the 4th Marine Division gets me every time on the drift. No drift. Green. There is no green in this this beach. So they are just going to come up here and land. So we're going to move this up here. These guys will go there, and this guy will go here. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the southern part of our landing zone. Draw a card for yellow 3. So no drift, blue circle, no blue units, so everybody's just going to make it to the beach here. So we're just going to move these guys up and drop them on the beach. And for yellow 3, which is just the 1 tank unit, we get yellow diamond. So there is a yellow, but he does not have a diamond. Again, we get no drift. So he is just going to land, and I'll drop him right there. So that completes the landing phase. So after the landing phase comes the event phase. So we draw an event card. Okay, now it says, oh, come on, that's terrible. All right, so we get remove all Japanese disruption. So all my hard-earned disruptions from my previous combat are about to get removed. The good news is we get an airstrike as well. So that'll move us back up to 2 airstrikes. So I can take advantage of that. But that is a bummer, man. That is a bummer. So I believe I had 5 Japanese units that were disrupted on the previous turn. Yes, 1 more. All right. So now we move on to the Japanese fire phase. Okay, so just so we can, there is no artillery this turn. I do know that. Okay, so we get, and it is turn 3, so they can now fire at headquarters. So they get yellow with the headquarters, red with the armor, so they can also fire at tanks, and purple with M. So that means that all of those are in action now because M does come into play at the start of turn 3, as we can see here on our sheet. Okay, so if they have, if you get M, machine gun makes steady fields of fire, intense fields of fire, and hexes adjacent to steady fields of fire are also steady fields of fire. So now it basically extends the range or the intensity of their fire, which is, bad for us, good for them. That's occupied with U.S. units in the field of fire. If they don't, they can still fire a mortar fire. So the U.S. units with the target symbol, and our target symbol is the diamond. So they're within 3 hexes or 4 if they're on a hilltop. And I didn't really talk about that, but there are red contour lines here on the map. So this would indicate a higher elevation, and then that would be a higher elevation. Or actually, this is the higher elevation here in the middle. So this is kind of like a hill elevation there. So in that situation, the mortar fire has a range of 4. Unoccupied, but in communication, and U.S. units within 3 hexes, they would get a reserve unit and a depth marker. And Japanese tanks, they do have a tank, but it is not really near any U.S. units at the moment. But a tank, fire if U.S. units in field of fire. If U.S. units still in field of fire, fire again is a separate action. So that one probably won't come into effect in this turn. Based on where the tank was placed, it's not going to get that. Again, star means they can fire at a leader or HQ unit. Tank means they get an extra armor hit. And the rest of it is just, it's unchanged from turns 1 and 2. All right, so let's see if we can find something where this might come into effect. So we have yellow and a star. So here's yellow over here. And we probably have a headquarters that's in a yellow field of fire here, I would think. Yes, there it is. So this headquarters would take a hit from that yellow. So it gets reduced. And it gets disrupted, I believe, as well. So this is bad for the U.S. because a disrupted headquarters cannot be used to activate its units. So we have that. That's great. And then we have red. So we do have a red here. We do have diamond. Okay, so we have red here, and he actually gets 2 hits because he's got a depth marker. So that gives him an additional hit. So he's got 2 total hits that he can apply. Now we have a diamond here, so he can knock this unit out. Now if we have a tank within range, which I don't think we do. Actually, yes. So he can hit the tank and this unit both. So if he hits this unit, which is down to 1 step, it's eliminated. So we're just going to eliminate that unit. That'll be his first hit. That's our first full loss for the 4th Marine Division. And he would also hit this tank. That's the 2 hits from this one, so that red unit cannot fire. But we don't have blue, so blue is passed. Here we have a yellow. So again, we're going to look for the diamond, which isn't there. So since it's not red, we could apply the red one, which is firing from here. We could apply that to this tank, and we can apply the 1 loss from the yellow to this hex. So that's how we'll resolve this. I'm going to go through and resolve the rest of the Japanese fire for this turn, and pause the recording so that we can keep this relatively short. I'll come back and recap that, and then we'll get into the U.S. action phase. So now we're going to move on to the U.S. action phase. And in this phase, I am going to, I'll give you kind of a brief rundown of what the plan is. And then I will go through and implement that plan off camera, and then come back and we'll look at the map and recap what happened. All right, first step. Up here we have this unit here, which has a depth marker. Real thorn in my side. I took a shot at it with a stack that was, I believe, here, or maybe here. Got completely decimated. I'm going to take another shot at it. I've got some units in here. I'm probably going to hit it from 2 sides at once, and try to get a high enough level of steps in there, because it gets halved. They're in woods. And I think they're going to end up with probably 4 cards. So I need to try and get as many cards on the US side as possible, because if I can crack that position, that kind of opens up some exploitable terrain here that I can push up to this line, because this line is the objective. This line here is the objective for scenario 1. That is the 01 line. That was the US historical target objective for day 1 of the invasion. So we will be taking a crack at that to try and see if we can get up there and get maybe get a victory in this. I doubt I'm going to be able to do it, but I'm going to give it a try. One thing I would say strategy wise, which was also true in Peleliu, is that you kind of have to get over the concept of I need to kill all the Japanese units. It's more important to capture territory in this game. Obviously, you are going to have to kill Japanese units in order to be able to conquer terrain, only because you're going to be in their fields of fire here. You can see how they project out pretty far from this purple position. We have steady field of fire all through here. So obviously, you need to push up and knock out units where you can, but you can't let them hold you up. We have 4 turns to hit that line, and we're not going to do it most likely, because I haven't been able to be aggressive enough so far. So aside from there, we have another strong point here that I would like to knock out. I'll have to look at my options a little bit more in depth. Obviously, we can assault from here, but we only have 1 2-step unit with which to do so. So what I might do is use this unit as the focal point, because when you attack with a fire attack, you need an adjacent unit. And then these units that are a little further away, 2 hexes away, they can provide support fire into that hex. So ultimately, I don't know what's under there. It could be elite, but it could also be a conscript unit. So it could be something I could knock out fairly easily. So I'm going to take a crack at that as well. Then we have this line here, this kind of secondary line along these three here that I would like to do something with as well. We'll see. You can't do close combat until you reveal it, so I have to, and I shouldn't have even said that here because that's not an option to close combat. You have to reveal it before you can do a close combat. So you can't assault right off the bat. You have to know what's in there first. So I need to do a fire attack here so I can reveal what that is. Same with these two guys. So as we swing the map here, now this is the southern end. Okay, obviously we need to reveal these guys. I need to see if I can close combat these two positions, knock them out. And then again, I know this is an elite unit because I bumped them out of there. So again, I need to reveal them again, and I can't unless I can fire on them to draw them out. So basically, I'm going to spark up some firefights here, and I'll probably take some casualties, but I need to be more aggressive if I'm going to even come close to maybe making it to a draw in this scenario, because I only have 2 turns left in which to do that. And right now, it's not looking good. So we're going to be aggressive this turn, and when I come back here in a moment, we'll see the outcome of these attacks. All right, so end of turn 3. We made some good progress here in general. We eliminated the unit here. This one ended up being really close because they're on a hill, and they were. It ended up being like a 1-to-1 odds, which when the depth marker and the Japanese unit are both revealed results in disruption to the Japanese. So that unit's disrupted. This one was eliminated. We eliminated some units in here. We moved up a little bit. We've got this guy almost surrounded. Over here, we made some advancement. This is swamp up here. You can barely see it here. This is swamp. So that's going to be difficult to advance through. We're going to kind of have to go around it, most likely. I think what I'll actually end up doing is just pushing this way because we want to get, again, we want to advance up as far as we can along the line here. To try and see if we can actually win this or at least get a draw. Here around the city, we disrupted this guy here. These two are I didn't really have anybody in range for them. We're still thin in this beach area right here between Green 3 and Green 2. There's not a lot of American units here. We had drift that pushed units out, and we never really built up much strength here. So we have this unit here and this one here that are still unrevealed. That one also unrevealed. But we broke out these two right here, so I believe we should be able to move up as long as we don't get any Japanese reserves in those spots. And then up here you can see we've got a disrupted Japanese here. We've got them mostly surrounded. We've made some progress up in this direction. Over here we've also made some progress pushing up. We finally cracked this unit here and got him out of there. So we have this really strong point here to deal with, this guy, and obviously this one. This one with a depth marker could be tough. We've got this guy here, but we should have enough units to make some damage. As you can see now that we've gotten off the beach in a lot of places, you lose the intense fire and get steady fire positions. That means the volume of fire is a little bit easier to deal with. 6th Marines, 8th Marines doing pretty good work at the northern end. Southern end, where the 23rd and the 25th are working, and the 24th, it's not as good, especially in the center. Off of the blue beaches and yellow 1, yellow 2. Not a lot of progress there. I do believe that the yellow 2 area is going to be exploitable, though, in turn 4. So I am going to load up my beaches for turn 4, and we will resume again with that. And we have reached turn 4. This is the final turn of the opening scenario, the last turn of the first day of the invasion. So this would be 2000 hours, 8 p.m. So just about night here. So I've loaded up my my invasion forces for this 4th and final wave of the scenario. So here on Green 1, we have the 3rd Battalion of the 2nd Marine Regiment. So this is coming out of the reserves, essentially, I believe. and we're going to flip card to land them here. So we will follow our normal procedure where we flip a card. Okay, so we have a green triangle with the armor symbol, but we don't have armor. So no drift. And green, there is no green fire in this. Well, there is, but the position's empty. So we have an uneventful landing. Move everybody up to the beach here. Okay, blue 1. We just have a tank unit landing. So we have a red triangle. And this is 4th Division. Actually, this is 2nd Division, 2L. So that would be 1, 2. And red, so they would actually... oh, wait, no. They don't have the drift symbol, so they're not going to drift, so they get to land here. There is no red unit in that hex, so they're just going to drop in right there. Interestingly, they have the 2nd Marine Division symbol on them, but they landed on a 4th Marine Division beach. So we'll move to blue 2, same situation. Okay, we got red diamond, and there is red here, and we do have a diamond. Okay, so we get 1 for the circle, though. We would get drift 1 right, but we don't have circle. We have 2 diamonds here, so they're both going to get a hit. So we're going to flip them both to their 1-step side and land them. And I'll put 1 there and 1 there. Actually, no, only one of them gets hit because this one's in a field of fire for red dot. This one is not, no dot. Okay. So now we move on to yellow 1. So we have a purple circle. We do not have a purple field of fire on any of our beaches here, so everybody's going to be able to land. We have no drift. We're in the 4th Division now. 4th Marine Division, no drift. So what we are going to have, though, is a stacking issue here. We need to punch through this line so that we can move some of these units up. And our 3rd and final beach here on the 4th Division side is yellow 2. Red diamond. We do have a red here. It does have field of fire into this position. However, we don't have any diamond. And we do have a circle, so that's going to drift 1 right. So that's going to end up on yellow 3 and land here. And these will land here. I'm going to land them both together, actually, right there. That completes the amphibious phase. We move on to the event phase, since there is no HQ phase. Okay, so 1 to 4, so we are in turn 4. We have LVTA fire. We also have a 2 to 8 intense Japanese fire by red fields of fire. Okay, so the LVTA fire, we draw 1 fire card to see what Japanese positions are disrupted. Use first position color only within 2 hexes of any LVTA unit. So we're going to draw a card. First color is purple. So then we would have to look at, so purple position that has an LVTA nearby, they would be disrupted. Like this one is a purple position. It's already disrupted, so I don't know that I need to even look at that one. Looking for other ones. We have one here also disrupted. This one isn't close enough. That one's not close enough. So I don't think that actually does any good for us here. So the second one, I'm going to put this out here. Intense Japanese fire. It limits units in the designated color field of fire to just 1 hex movement. So any US unit in a red field of fire of a Japanese unit is limited to 1 hex of movement. Okay, so that will end that, and we move on to the Japanese fire phase. They do get artillery fire again this turn. However, we will be using it in the proper time, which is at the end of the US action phase. So what we have here is we have red with no letter, green with the R, and brown with the M. So again, just to kind of go over this real quick, R rather, started in turn 3, resupply. So if no depth marker is present, add a depth marker to a Japanese occupied position, then fire. So if we have an occupied green position, they're going to get a depth marker, so like right here, they'll get a depth marker before they fire. And if they're occupied and don't have any units, they get a depth marker. If it moves to Japanese unit, and depth marker, if there is one, would move to a new position if the conditions in Rule 13.5 apply. I'll look at that. Reinforce, place a reserve unit with depth marker and fire if U.S. unit in field of fire for an unoccupied one. As for the M, again, that would be machine gun fire, mortar fire. The muster would happen in a position rather, that doesn't have a Japanese unit, but is in a firing range of an American unit. So now I'll begin resolving Japanese fire. So we know we have red. So I'll start up here. We do have a red. It does have, actually it doesn't have, it does have range into this, but since that's a headquarters and we don't have the star, it can't hit it. This one does not have red. So looking for other reds. Red, looking for red. Here's a red. This one's in its field of fire. The symbol is the diamond, so this one's going to take a shot, and it's also going to be disrupted. So I have to pull a step loss counter rather, and add a disruption. So got that. Some more reds. I'm just checking reds at the moment. Here's a red here. That's American. Here's a red. It's disrupted. So it would lose its disrupted marker, but it won't get to fire. Yeah, so the other red was off map. It's over here actually, off shot rather. It's right here. It's out of range. So we're just gonna come back over here. So that's the red. Now I need to look at greens and browns. So to explain what the green R would do, so here we have a green, it's unoccupied. There is an American unit in its field of fire. However, it also needs to be in communication, which means it needs to have a direct line out, and it does not because it is surrounded by U.S. control. There are a lot of units here that exert a zone of control that closes this hole so that it cannot connect to this unit. Therefore, it does not get a reinforcement. Up here, we have a green as well with a unit in it and with a unit in its field of fire. Now, when that happens, it gets a depth marker and it gets to fire. So we would look at the Japanese fire chart. So we have fire by unrevealed position in its so U.S. units of every type and target symbol lose a step and are disrupted. So that would put it in here. Now again, our target symbol is the diamond, so it would prioritize on the diamond. So with that being the case, I'm going to flip this guy to his two-step side and put him there, and he also gets disrupted. So I need to drop a disruption on him. So he's put on the bottom and he's disrupted. So that's how that works. Now we have we also have a brown here next to it that is unoccupied and has U.S. units in its field of fire. So we look at M, unoccupied, in communication, U.S. units within 3 hexes. It would get a reserve unit. Sorry, crooked. It would get a reserve unit and 1 depth marker. Forgot I had the camera cocked there. So we draw a reserve unit and a depth marker. We put that in there. Now it doesn't fire, but it does get placed. So that's how that would proceed on through the rest of the Japanese fire phase. So I've already done red. We know what we've got there. I'm going to move on, do the rest of the map, and then I'll come back and we'll set up for the U.S. action phase, because there'll be an interesting. I'll be doing some artillery fire and things in that as well to kind of show other mechanics of the game as we continue to play. And sorry, the sheet there got us out of focus for a bit. I've completed the Japanese fire phase. They picked up a couple more units and some depth markers, and also inflicted a couple more step losses on American units. So we are now ready to begin the U.S. action phase. So as I mentioned earlier, what I'm going to do, and let me zoom out a little bit here so we can maybe see the whole map. Okay, so we have Japanese artillery. So here it's a little hard to see, and I'll zoom in here in a moment. You have Japanese artillery here. There are more spread around the map. I'm going to use some counter battery fire U.S. artillery points to hopefully destroy some of these Japanese artillery positions. I can use 4 points at a time. The 2nd Division has 6 divisional artillery points, and the 4th Division has 14. So that gives me 4 strikes, and I believe they have 4 artillery sites, so that actually works out kind of okay. Some of them have multiple artillery in it, so I would have to hit that target multiple times, which I have to check the rules to make sure that's even legal. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I will fire up here at this one. So our first artillery strike is going to be here. I'm going to use my second Division artillery, 4 points. So I will move, have it on the turn track, the record track here, that I've used 4 of their 6 points. So what we do is we flip a card, and we're looking for the symbols, and you're looking for the color and the symbol, and the symbol for artillery is a diamond. So we don't have the symbol or the color. It's a miss. So now I'll use 4th Division artillery for 4. We're going to hit the same target. Again, we get not what we need. We needed red. We did get the diamond. So with the diamond, that's a hit. Now, if we look at our barrage table here, you can see barraging unit symbol 4, because that's the points we used, art. Artillery destroys 1 Japanese artillery in the position. So we did kill this artillery here. Now I need to find my artillery destroyed marker, which I have right here. And we throw that on there like so. That artillery has been destroyed. So that's the process for destroying artillery. Now there are 2 more hexes that contain artillery, and they just so happen to be this one and this one. They're close together. So now we're going to use 4 more of our 4th Division points to bring us to 8. So I'm going to have 1 shot at both of these. We flip our card again. This time we have green, and we don't have the symbol, but we do have green. So that's only going to have 2 now. So I'm going to put an artillery destroyed on here, but we know we have 2 more below it. And now we go for this guy. Same process. This is red, so we're looking for red. We didn't get red, and we didn't get the symbol. No red, no symbol. That's a miss. And that's the last of our artillery. I do have 2 points I can use from each division. I'll use those in support of attacks probably. Okay, so my plans for this turn are to push up in this direction. So this line here is the line I'm trying to reach. It actually goes off the shot, I see, but this dotted line here, I'm trying to push up to that. So I'm going to try and get as many units as I can up here. We do have steady fire dots, so they will be... I'll have to check on the movement under fire with steady fire dots, but I'll also need to kind of eliminate this guy and maybe this guy, or not, maybe not eliminate them, but at least fire on them, find out what they are. If I need to close combat, to use that to destroy them, which I would not be able to do in this remaining 1 turn left. And we have a guy here to get rid of, and obviously this line, as we get further down in this area, things get a little bit more congested. As you can see here around the city, we've got not a lot of American units, and we've got some pillboxes and depth markers. That's going to be, I'm not even going to attempt to do anything with those. I will try to get rid of this one here. I do have a lot of units there. I will try to also push out. I would like to get rid of this guy right here. And then further down, we have these units over here that I would like to do something with, and obviously this guy as well. So if I can get rid of these, then I'll be able to move some units up, and I'll be able to maybe, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to actually get to the line. It doesn't look like I will be able to get to the line. That would actually enable me to gain some victory points. So I'm hoping for a draw at this point, and we'll see how we do. So I'm going to resolve all this stuff now, and then come back and we'll tally up. Well, we'll have to do the Japanese artillery phase, because if they destroy 50 steps of American units, then I would not be able to win. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm pretty sure I haven't lost that many steps, but you never know, and it could be close, so I will count them up. And we have reached the end of scenario 1. So this is going to go down as a loss for me, I am pretty sure. Based on the reading of the rules, I would need to get to this line here and have 15 hexes, and it kind of goes up along here and then back down around this way. So I see that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's pretty much it. So it says adjacent to, so I might get a 7th one here, maybe, but even still, you need 15. 15 for a draw, 24 for a victory. I did not get that. I could count up the number of step losses, but I don't even think that matters. I know I lost 3 infantry companies, so that would be 12 right there. Adding up all the single and double, and even in a couple cases, 3-step losses around the rest of the board, I may have hit 50 anyway. I don't think I did, but it would be close. So overall, I did take the L for sure. The Japanese artillery fire actually ended up not being too bad, because in game turns 1 through 4, it can only fire at units of the same color, and we ended up with purple. And the only purple was, because it has to be purple and adjacent to the beach, and there was only one hex that had that, and I'm not even seeing it. Oh, it's right here. So this guy right here took a step loss. He probably should be disrupted as well. I forgot to drop a disruption on there, but yeah, that was literally the only hit. My attacks went mostly okay. I made some ground up here. I made some ground in here as well. I kind of cleared this area out, which I wanted to do. But just as they did historically, the Japanese held in the area around the city. They did not give up all that much territory. So if you can kind of see this line here, this was the historical line at the end of the first day. So this is the U.S. Marine Corps' line at the end of the first day. So they kind of had a beachhead carved out here by the 2nd Marine Division, and then here's the city, and they had the 4th Marine Division had carved out this. So as you can see, the 2nd did okay. It actually exceeded its performance in this area. Not so much here. The 4th did okay in this area, but not at all over here. So all things considered, I don't think I did poorly as compared to the historical result. But as far as drawing a victory in the game, no way, not even close. The game is difficult. So quick thoughts on the game itself. I actually enjoyed it. It's really difficult. I feel like the rules are a little heavy. There's a lot of little nuances in there. My only other experience with the series was Tarawa. Tarawa was was more straightforward. It's not a simple game by any stretch, but it felt more straightforward than this one did. But I do think that some of the things that people complained about with Iwo Jima, particularly the fire dots, they're back on the map. There are no black fire dots, which was also in Peleliu as well as Iwo Jima. The landing sequence is actually a little bit more streamlined than it was in Tarawa, where we were rolling for the individual landing craft. Some of that is probably because by 44, or by this point in 44, the Marines had already hit several other islands, and they were kind of becoming a little bit more adept at this, I believe. And I think the Japanese strategy as well was not like at Tarawa. They were trying to kill the Marines on the beach. By the time the Marines hit Saipan, the strategy had changed to more of a defense in depth, and they were setting up strong points at various points on the island and just trying to basically go for attrition. The belief being that if they inflicted enough casualties on the Americans, that the American public would grow tired of the war and seek a negotiated peace, which obviously did not happen. But in general, I think this is a good game. Is it going to stand up to the Peleliu, Tarawa, Omaha Beach? Probably not in most people's minds. But some of that might just be the fact that there's going to be a little bit of an expectation that it won't be as good because it wasn't done by John Butterfield. But it is still essentially his system. Joe Youst has made some changes, obviously, and tweaked it for this particular campaign, just as he did for Iwo Jima. The Iwo Jima experiment didn't really work all that well. I feel like that campaign probably isn't a great fit for this system, only because of how brutal it was. The other islands, Peleliu, Tarawa, those are jungle. Iwo Jima is like volcanic. It's just a volcanic mess, basically. So it's kind of a different thing. The caves and all that stuff. Peleliu had some of that, but every island was different, and so every game in this system has to be different. And I think that Joe Youst did a good job with this game. I'll probably I'm considering doing a full-fledged review. I'll probably take a few days to think on that and probably play around with this a little bit more because I do like the game. But this video has become pretty long in general, and I don't want this to be 2 hours long, and I don't want to continue to do a playthrough. I do recommend the game. If you like the system, I think you'll like this game. Just don't go into it expecting it. I would say go into it with an open mind. Don't go into it already prejudging it because it wasn't done by John Butterfield. I think that's the best advice I can give on this game. So, as always, thank you for watching. My name is Joe. This has been Hexed and Countered. And please like, share, and subscribe if you would. I'm trying to grow my channel, and if you could help me out, I would greatly appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoy the content, and that would make it worth your while. But until next time, happy gaming.